All right, how about a pocket change market report for your Saturday afternoon, this time for June 18th, 2022. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Of course, as always, I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. We're going to dive into some recent sales on eBay within the last 24 to 36 hours, maybe 48 hours, you never know. And as usual, the same thing, happens. We're talking about coins that people have found in pocket change, going through coin rolls, maybe cherry picking through coin dealer stock, or maybe even at a coin show, or even perhaps even eBay. There's always that off chance that someone had sold something with less than desirable pictures, or maybe they're selling something in auction that ends in the middle of the night. It just so happens you're up at 2 a.m., you score a nice deal, bam, flip it, make some money. That's how we do it. So, as always, the same thing applies week in, week out with the PCMR. No graded coins. What's the point? Unless it's some rare, super rare type of error where it justifies grading, most of the time the coins will certainly sell for themselves. And you don't want to spend that extra money. It can be very expensive to grade errors and varieties. One coin alone through PCGS is $65 with error attribution. So yeah, don't send your reasonably priced errors when you could just do is flip them. And second of all the listings that you see here, all the photos are original to the listings, which means that we might come across a few pictures that are not too great, not too fantastic. Maybe one's a little darker, another image is a little bit out of focus. If anything, you'll get a little bit of a photo educational course as we go through this as well. People tend to appreciate, looking and seeing what's out there competitively in the marketplace, and then, fine-tune your photo skills so that way you're just a notch above the rest. That's always important. So, like I've said, and I'll say it again, thank you guys so much for all your views and support. The Pocket Change Market Report has been, bar none, the hottest game in town on the Blue Ridge Silverhound channel. And we also have a TikTok as well. It's Blue Ridge Silverhound, all one word. Go ahead and check it out. Could certainly use some extra follows. All right, so let's go ahead and bounce right on here with some pretty cool coins. The market seems to have picked back up a little bit, compared to the last 2 weeks where some coins have, dropped. All right, so what's going on here? I don't know. But I like what I'm seeing. Just a lot of activity. All right, so we got a 2020 West Point. Wow, this is a West Point quarter right here. It's in really good shape, too. It's got that V75 privy mark on the obverse, but this one is actually here because of a very tiny error. You may see it. I know I see it because I picked this one out for the report. But yeah, this one has a little bit of a strike through right on the tip of good old Washington's nose. So it's just a little tiny crater there. There was, a little bit of grease or blob of something that was on the dies before this coin was eventually struck. Now, for it to kind of pop up on a West Point minted coin where only 2 million of them were produced, that's kind of scarce, and that's probably a good reason why this particular coin is on the list today, even with a very, very minor strike-through event. This one sold for $32. Now, a regular American Samoa West Point quarter isn't quite there yet. That's usually about a $15, $20 coin, but with a tiny little bit of an error like you see here, it really does enhance the value of that coin. So, pretty nice. Look out for something like this. As minor as they seem, to a collector, they do have a little bit of extra value for you if you wanted to unload it. The next one that we have here is a 1955 Franklin half dollar that looks to be a coin that came out of just junk bulk silver. It's not mid-state. It's pretty well circulated. However, these coins are very well collected for one specific variety that can be found throughout most of the grades of this series, and that is the clashed event that you see here called the Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny teeth. This one, however, probably looks more like a Rabid Wolverine, maybe little shades of Bram Stoker's Dracula up in here, but you see these little two spikes that look like really sharp fangs. That's what we're looking at. And that's really a die clash from the reverse where the eagle's wings are, that tiny little eagle to the right of the Liberty Bell. So it's been clashed onto the obverse dies. This particular coin here, even in this condition, all right, pay attention, sold for $26.45. I mean, it's a great day to be alive where you could take a coin that generally is worth about $6.50 in melt value and easily make over 4 times that amount of money. I mean, that is pretty cool, and I would certainly do that if I did find one. Remember, the Bugs Bunny clashes can be found throughout a lot of dates. Some are more rarer than the others. The 55 Bugs Bunny is one of the more common dates, but still managed to sell for a pretty good profit. So keep this in mind. If you have these, always look through them. Now here's a really nice Mint State 1999p Roosevelt dime. It's a little bit off center. I would say it's off center by about 20%. Again, people are collecting these by date, so it's no big surprise that this one's even here. This is actually a lot tougher date than it looks. You just don't see this particular date pop up too often, but you know, there might be a coin shop or you know, somewhere local that has one of these for a few bucks, maybe $5-10. That's going to be a good pickup, so always keep this in mind. This particular coin is certainly needed, and as a result, sold for $49.95. More Scrap-A-Dap of silver. This is actually a good one. I've never personally found one of these, and I probably have a few rolls of pretty well-worn Barber quarters. Here's the 1903 Barber quarter. Still a lot of meat on the bones on this one as far as detail, but check out that die crack on the reverse over the word quarter, and it even goes into a little bit of the word dollar. Yeah, a lot of people have overlooked this through the years, but this is a pretty substantial coin here. I would probably say it's pretty close to being a pre-cud, although you don't see a lot of displacement. But, you know, if the piece of die had fallen off, this would be a full-blown cud nonetheless. Pretty nice. I mean, again, this is a coin that probably was cherry-picked or found out of bulk silver stuff, and this one ended up selling for $36, and that's with 2 bids. Now, this is probably something you won't see come out of a roll. You just won't. But it's a undated Lincoln Memorial cent. It's broad struck, but also has a partial, what do you call it, brockage as well. So, pretty interesting. There was a few planchets overlapped on here, or maybe a struck coin and a planchet. It's a pretty wild and very unique coin. It's stretched out enough that even made, you know, you have a couple tears that you see there, almost directly across from each other. Again, a coin that very unlikely that you'll see pop up in pocket change, but it's neat nonetheless. You never know. This might show up at a coin show for a reasonable amount of money. If that's the case, go ahead and pick it up because it's worth a little bit more than what you think. This one ended up selling for $86 with 3 bids. Okay, and again, you don't need to grade stuff like this. It will sell on its own. So about a day or so, I had talked about some 1980s varieties, coins in which that are beginning to see a little bit more activity, especially some of those more popular ones like the 83 DDR and the 84 double ear. But how about the RPMs? There's only one notable RPM for 1987D as far as a cherry picker's guide variety. There's actually a few RPMs, but there's one recognized as a major cherry picker's guide variety. This is not one of them. However, it's from the same seller as the other coin that I talked about that is a cherry picker's guide variety. 87 D over D RPM. You could see the secondary D is west of the primary Denver mint mark. Not to be confused with split plating. All right, this one's pretty distinguishable on its own. This coin is in really nice shape, and it's sold for $30.90. Again, I'll say it. any sort of RPMs that you're able to identify from the 80s are going to be worth considerably more than some of the ones that you could find from like the 50s and 60s, because they're just that much more scarce, especially with the newer compositions. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to tell, and sometimes the coins just don't last that long. Oh, finally, we actually have one of these that popped up. This coin first came across the live coin Q&A email help desk as a new discovery, and it's a 2022 piece Sally Ride quarter. Keep in mind, the new Wilma Mankiller quarters are currently out in circulation. People have been beginning to find those. However, this one's on the list because this one exhibits clashed eyes, along with a little bit of a strike through here as well on the ponytail. This coin has a few things going for it, so you can see the clash here under the chin area of Washington on the obverse, but also you can see some of the clashing here as well on the reverse, which is a lot more stronger. Not quite the strongest clashed eyes that I've seen. The one that we ended up finding in our emails through the live coin Q&A inbox has a little bit stronger clashing than this one does. But still, another good one to look out for. The clashed eyes have always been popular. Doesn't matter what coin. This one right here is sold for $25.90. Looks like this is the first official confirmed sale of the Sally Ride clashed eyes. So not too bad. $25 bill all day long. Not bad. All right, we do have a few clips in this edition of the PCMR. We have a 1971 D Kennedy half dollar. This one has 2 clips and plenty of Blakesley effect on there. You can see just a loads of flattening here of this opposite edge of where this curved is. But you also have the one here right above the E, which is a clip. You can see it a little bit better on the reverse as well. Coins in predominantly good shape, and these can be found going through Kennedy half-dollar rolls. People have been finding these, and they should always be saved. This one right here is sold for $15.55 with 15 bids, so that's not too bad. That's a pretty good source of income right there, aside from trying to look for 40% and 90% silver, which is drying up by the day, guys. And here's a rather pleasing earlier date 1919 S Lincoln wheat cent. This one is broad struck, a little bit uncentered, but that's okay. More than likely, this is going to be a pretty good piece for a date set, or maybe just a type set or an error set. This one right here sold for $40, and 26 bids total combined amount of bids got to that amount. So what we have here is a true opportunity to own a high-grade specimen of a duplicate 2013 B serial number star note. This is actually a Washington, D.C. print brick. Not a brick, but a strap. So there's 100 of them available. This particular auction is good for one note out of the strap. And as you guys know, well-circulated examples have sold for $15 to $30. People are hoping to pair up the Washington, D.C. printed note with the same serial number of a Fort Worth printed note. So if you have the pairing of those particular notes, if graded, sell for a lot of money. $500 to $1,000 seems to be the average. I know much higher graded specimens have sold for a lot more money. This one right here, for just the one crisp uncirculated note, sold for $98.99 with 2 bids. So there you go. Pretty nice high graded star notes from this 2013 B block. That's a gold mine right there. Now, not rare, but here's a really pleasing giant-sized 1999 Lincoln Memorial cent. This one is a what they call a broad strike. So the collar wasn't present, which normally holds the coin in during the strike. And if the collar is not there, all the metal flow goes outwards, therefore making the coin looking a lot bigger than it actually is. This one right here, again, common date, 99, 2000, and 01 are 3 of the common dates for off-center strikes and broad strikes. This one right here sold for $15. Now, in contrast, this is actually a much more challenging date to find for an off-center collection. This is a 1978 Lincoln Memorial cent that is off-center by about 55%. Beautiful looking coin, full red, I would say. And this one ended up selling for $42.49. Oh, coming back with a little bit more modern fare. This, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a little bit of an exercise to look at everything that you possibly can. You just never know what you're going to find. 2019 P. This is a Philadelphia minted Lowell ATB quarter. It has a few die chips. Okay, the most notable is going to be one on that tower on the reverse. You can see the big, huge, just knotted up die chip right there. And then also on this wheel here, on this loom or whatever, you have a die chip here also. Pretty good size little piece. So little pieces of the die had fallen off. Apparently this particular date and National Park design had a lot of issues with just trying to keep the dies together with all the strikes. This particular example sold for $10.99. Heck, why not, right? A good $10 bill for every one of these that you do find is going to be worth it, because if you sell a number of them, they all add up. And they all, I'm sure the money goes into the same pot. If you're doing this to kind of supplement your income, that's a great way of doing it. You know, trading a coin a quarter for $10. Seems like turnabout's fair play, but, you know, for some people, it's really about the error. And people collect these by progression, things like that. And that's why they pay and stake the amount of money they do for things that appear at first glance very minor. Here's a quick little pricing update on a wide AM coin. This time from 1998. We've seen 98, 99, and 2000 here in the last few weeks. So we've come full circle back to a 1998. These have the wide AM reverse in America. You notice the spacing between the A and M there. First few letters of the word America, quite substantial. Coin is circulated. You know, probably like an XF45, maybe AU50 at best. This one sold for $10.99. So like the previous coin, these are readily available enough on the secondary market that that there's plenty of them if you are looking for one. But at the same time, they still carry its weight in value. If you don't need them and you got a number of these, go ahead and sell them while you can. Now here's the other coin that I talked about. From the seller Jim on eBay, and this is again a variety to look out for because it's undeniably rare. It's probably more rare than the 83 DDR. That's how tough they are. This one here is the RPM number 3, so this is a D over D. This is FS501. This was actually the coin that I talked about in that video from a day or two ago. And I didn't think it would last long. I even thought about buying it. I actually went back to see if it's still available, and it was gone already. This thing sold, I believe, yesterday sometime or wherever. But this one right here has that pretty nice strong punched Denver mint mark that's north of the primary mint mark. However, this one has a pretty good example of what split plating looks like as well. So your main RPM is going to be north. You can see that extra top curl along with a doubled serif. You can see the same here on the bottom too. Any RPMs from the 80s, again, highly coveted. Very rarely do I see any of them that sell for under $10, and that's how tough they are. This one, again, to recap, sold for $26.40. Another big variety here, one in which that not a lot of people are really paying attention to, but hey, it's not too late to pay attention to the 1997 Lincoln Memorial cent. Doubled die obverse. Now this one is the doubled ear, so you can see the doubled earlobe there. It's even got a nice little point to it, but you got to make sure it's got that split, that split there that differentiates the doubled earlobe to the main earlobe. This one here sold for $34.50, which is a great amount of money because the coin is really not in that good a shape. Here's another curved clip, this time on a 1964D Lincoln Memorial Cent. Tougher date because it's Denver. You just don't see a lot of these on Denver minted examples. And the coin's in decent shape with some mint red in lots of places. But at the same time, it's also got a few carbon spots. I mean, that could be irrelevant here, seeing as how it's a tougher date. This one sold for $16.53, which I would take that all day long for this. All right, now I've said that 99 to 2001 are some of the more common dates for off-center strikes in Lincoln cents. However, we have a 1997, and I can't state enough of how difficult this date is to find an off-center strike, and to collectors of the series that collect them by date, that's pretty big. This one here is off-center by about 60%. It's pretty nice. This one ended up selling for $30.24 with 16 bids collected on that one. Oh, nothing fancy here. This is just a 1943p wartime silver Jefferson nickel with some annealing issues. So you do have some lamination issues on both the obverse of the coin. You see these striations here, and also on the reverse as well. Not particularly an attractive coin. Again, this would be something that, if I did own it, I would sell it right away because it just doesn't look the part for my collection. And this one ended up selling for $14.95, which is roughly between 6 and 7 times the melt value for such a coin. All right, so it's been quite some time since I've talked about the small strike-through on the Tuskegee Airmen quarters. Of course, these are 2021 Philadelphia minted coins, so they will have the P mints. But this is probably one of the smaller strike-through events. These are what they call field-restricted strike-throughs. It's just pasty type of grease that's been pushed around with the feeder finger, and that's why you have these kind of oddball, coincidental landing spots for these strike-throughs. In this case, we're around the building. It looks like a fire is burning out. This one right here sold for $35.50. So even the tiniest strike-through event on the Tuskegee Airmen still has quite a bit of value. Sure, it's not $100, $150 strong, but $35 is still pretty good, considering that this is already a year old. Keep that in mind. Here's a 1985 $10 bill. Yeah, we got some insufficient inking on the first print on this one. That's pretty easy to see, but the note has also circulated a little bit too. It's got all sorts of folds on there. It's changed hands a number of times. And the reverse there seems to be in pretty decent shape, but it looks like it had some sort of tape or something on there, as you can see here on the top right of the note. This one sold for $64.88, and that's 9 collected bids on that one. Much like the earlier Roosevelt dime, here's another semi-tough off-center or broad strike. It could be either or. This time on the 1988p Rosie. This one here sold for $25.94. Again, these are collected by date from the Roosevelt team of people and collectors. There's another one here too, 1979. This one, much better shape. This one's off center by about 15-20%. And this one sold for $26.95. Here's a 1920S. Not a great looking coin at all, but it is a woody. All right, so this is an improper alloy mix. A little bit of the tin that is mixed with the copper didn't quite do the job during that process, but this is the byproduct. A very beautiful wood green appearance. These have been picking up a little bit more desirability lately. People are very interested in these coins, and again, like any other era, they're being collected by date. So people are looking for that 1920S. They're also looking for the 20D, the 20P, and all that. This particular coin sold for $35.50. All right, we do have a few more currency pieces. Here's a 1935E $1 silver certificate with some gutter folds. You can see the omission of the print there. The sheet actually had a wrinkle or two prior to the printing process. So when the wrinkle hasn't been stretched out and it's printed over, you're going to get these channels there, or gutters. Much more impressive on the back, where you actually have a pretty good wrinkling area on the right side of the note. This one sold for $143.31 as a buy it now listing. All right, I'm glad at least one of these have shown up. I haven't talked about a Wounded Eagle Sacagawea dollar in probably a month. It's been that while. This is, again, as always, they are a 2000 first year of this new composition of manganese dollar coins. They are also Philadelphia minted. You can see the die gouges. They're long, thin. They're always in pairs. So you got this one long one that goes through the breast of the eagle, and a little smaller one here that goes through the wing area. So you can see both on this example. It's not a high grade example. It looks like it's been through a few Coke machines during its day. However, still a very impactful variety. People still love these, and this one sold for $65. So always a good flip if you could find them. They're actually quite common out there. A lot of these were minted during its day, and a lot of people have cashed in on these. Well, here's another American Samoa. This time we have the all too familiar struck through face bat quarter right here, again on a Philadelphia minted coins. Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of a trend here with which mint facility cranks out the wildest errors. So Philadelphia certainly takes the gold statue for that. This one right here usually is accompanied by a number of feeder finger scrapes, which look like parallel lines. They're referred to on the non-strike through American Samoa quarters as extra whiskers. So people have talked and said that that's what the feeder finger lines look like. Always a great coin. This one sold for $70.95. Probably on the lower end. The strike throughs get a lot bigger. Okay, so unfortunately, the sad news is these drooling die chip quarters, the brand new ones of 2022, a lot of them have kind of slipped into what we call obscurity. A lot of the prices used to come out guns a-blazing, $10, $15, $20, $25 a pop when they were first discovered, even for the larger, more advanced stage of the die chip that's on the corner of Washington's mouth. Bigger is always better when it comes to these errors. Okay, but those have dropped down to literally $1 or $2, all right? Except for this one that has a lot more terminal stuff going on. At first glance, you do see the big crown, or the big corner of mouth die chip there, called the herpes or drool, whatever you want to call it. But the ones that have a lot more going for them, and the ones that have been selling for a lot more money, are the examples that have also the earlier progression stages of the die chips right on the bridge of Washington's nose. So if you have both, these two events happening at the same time, congratulations. You have a coin that's still worth selling. This one right here, for example, sold for $25.98. This is really the only die chip coin worth selling. So if you do come across them, make sure you, because they're a hot potato right now, make sure you go ahead and sell them if you don't need it for your collection. All right, not one that you would typically see, but you never know. You can cherry pick one of these off of eBay or at a local coin shop if they're not crazy about it. But it's a 1968 Lincoln Memorial cent that's been double struck. So the secondary strike is roughly 85% off center. Really crazy coin. You have a little bit of liberty on a secondary strike, and that's pretty meaningful for what this is. Coin's in decent shape. It's got some carbon oxidized areas on there. Not too bad. It's not a big deal breaker. This one sold for $59.99. Oh, finally we found a cud. on a 1977. I can't really say that I've talked about one of these 1977 cud die breaks in the wild, but there you go. We do have one here for you. So a little bit of piece of die had fallen off, and that's all due to wear and tear of the machinery, the dies, and all the other moving parts on the machine. They all tend to loosen up, they break, you know the deal. It's like an automobile. So a little piece of the die had fallen off, so when it strikes coins, it's going to leave a pretty nice unstruck voided area, this time over the word we and part of trust on here. And then you do have the corresponding weakness on the reverse as well. Always something to look out for. This one sold for actually a pretty good amount of money. This must be a tough one. $91, and that's with 3 bits. So there you go. Cuds are kings. Speaking kings, we got one of these K3 to K7 die cracks on the semi-newish 2021 Lincoln Sense. These have been going up. They got down to around $125 when there was plenty enough inventory, and now that there's virtually no inventory, they're shooting right back up. This one right here sold for $288 with 21 bits, which is a huge departure of its previous sell prices about 2 months ago. And here's my coin that I sold here in the last day. I did a video on this morning. This is the only known stage 2 progression. That's where the crack actually goes all the way across and forms the perimeter of where the interior cud die break is going to be. So very nice coin. It does have a little bit of a hit here from another coin and another little thing here on the reverse. Not the premier example, but when there's only one available, who cares? You know, throw condition out the window. Unless the thing's fallen apart into a billion pieces, it really doesn't matter. This one right here sold for $413.95 with 28 total bits. And congrats on the new owner. I'm not going to say his name, but you know, I'm not even sure if he watches my videos. But he and I talk on Facebook, so this is going to be going to the graders. I think NGC. He's going to try and get he has all 3 examples from stage 1 to the latest terminal stage. He's going to try and get all 3 graded in one of their big soap bar slabs that holds, you know, multiple coins. I'll let you guys know how that turns out and see what the result is. Now this one's really cool, man. Oh, I wish I were a fly on the wall at a coin shop when I saw this. I would have picked it up. All right, 1921p Morgan dollar, and it's the minor things that count when it comes to these type of coins. So what are we looking at? Well, this one has a strike through over the word 1 of $1 right on the reverse. Now, this is something that for the longest time people have ignored. You know, people have associated minor errors like this as being more of a detractor to coins like this, and something that'll, you know, affect a value in a negative way. But these are different days. People actually like these, and they actually put these on a much higher pedestal than they used to 15, 20 years ago. This one right here, it's in pretty nice shape, probably like an AU58 slider type coin. This one sold for $125, which is roughly 4 times the value of this coin raw, and without the error. Alright guys, we got a few more very spicy, very, very neat coins of currency. This is the last piece of currency. 1969 $1 bill with a grossly misaligned third print or overprint. You can see it's all shifted to the right. But what's even more cool, the BEP employees knew that this one needed to be trashed and replaced with like a star note because it's got the BEP rejection mark. That's what this red wax crayon thing is right here. Yeah, when they mark it, usually they pull that out and then they destroy it. All right, but somehow, some way, this made it through the pack out process, and someone scored a really cool note. Note's in pretty nice shape. I don't think there's a lot of circulation wear on here. Just looking at the reverse, it looks almost crispy uncirculated. This one note here sold for $261.95. That's with 30 bids. Wow. Heck of an audience. They were interested in this note. And I'm pretty sure most of them are familiar with the BEP rejection mark. Oh, man, what a cool note. And congrats to the seller and the buyer. This is a phenomenal note. Now, this is a funny looking piece. It looks a lot smaller, and it looks like someone did some funny shenanigans to it, but it's a 2001P North Carolina statehood quarter. This is actually an elliptical clip, all right, which pretty much retains the overall roundness of the coin, all right. So you can see, just look at the reverse, that some of the top part of the coin is cut off, all right, and that's an actual elliptical clip, as opposed to one that's curved that goes into the design. This one right here, you're not going to see too many of, and that's the main reason why it's sold for $49.99. Whereas most other clips of this particular series tend to go for around 10 to 20 bucks. So that's a pretty big difference maker. And then finally, a coin that I haven't seen in probably over a year. All right, we got the 2007P Wyoming statehood quarter with this particular cud die break on the reverse under the word unum. There are currently 3 known cud errors through Cuds on Coins' website for the 2007P Wyoming state quarter. This is actually number 1. So number 1 is number 1 in my book. And this bad boy is sold for $74.75. What a great way to end it on a very scarce coin. First one spotted in 2022. That's how rare it is. I guarantee you, man, there's more of these out there. Okay, if you haven't checked out the Cuds on Coins website, go ahead and check it out. It's cuds-on-coins.com. I didn't lose you guys, right? Yeah, there's actually dashes or hyphens in there between each of the words for the URL. So go ahead and check it out. There are some pretty crazy unknown statehood quarters that people are not aware you can find these cuds on. This is one of the big ones. And given the price, it's deserved, man. Very, very scarce. That's going to go ahead and do it for this one. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. I hope you guys enjoyed the Saturday edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. Always good stuff. Market is still healthy with very little signs of slowing like we did see the last few weeks. So take advantage of the market while it's still robust. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to today's content or the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm also on TikTok. Go ahead and drop a follow over there as well. But as always, have a great weekend. If you guys have a 3-day weekend because of Juneteenth, all right, enjoy that as well. And that's going to go ahead and do it. You guys take care. Have a good one. And I will see you on the next coin video.